And we are live. And surprise, of our four guests we are planning on, we have one, but it's Bo, so that's really all we need. And Bo is tirelessly working to get us a second guest at least because he doesn't want to stare at Ro and I the whole time.
But who does, to be fair?
This is true. So while Bo is working and Ro is just looking magnificent, I have a story to tell everybody.
Ooh, story time.
My oldest brother sent me a Christmas present and said, "You always buy me silly things, so I'm going to buy you a T-shirt that you'll never ever wear outside your house." And he's known me for over 54 years, so he really should have known better. But this is the shirt that I went to the grocery store with. And it doesn't look better on anyone other than me, really. So
Fantastic. That really sums you up right there.
And I won't tell you how many X's are in the size of this thing.
It's all good, man.
So, as our typical way of doing this, three of our guests I invited, they all said yes, but I invited them November 5th. And I didn't follow up. So they must have forgot in the intervening 6 or 7.
You were just so on top of things that you did it so early. Yeah, Bo, sorry, I muted you because your tapping you were going crazy, just a typing machine. But you have to unmute yourself if you want to actually talk.
Yeah, that's okay. Sorry. Should have done that before I started.
Melissa also has a bald brother named Mike. It's catching. You're like a disease.
And this is my brother Dan. Dan, tell us if you've worn your shirt out in public. Well, you probably haven't left your place yet, but if you do, will you wear yours out in public?
So what you're saying is your other brother just finds one gift and just sends it to both of you.
Yes.
In the hope that you two won't talk to each other, looky what I got.
We got a bottle of alcohol, and we got a T-shirt, and we got an Amazon gift card.
What kind of alcohol did you get?
What did I get? Oh, I got coconut rum.
Nice. My good lady wife found me a bottle of Irish whiskey called Writer's Tears. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. It's around here somewhere.
Yes, I've actually told my brother Dan to go talk to his friend who runs a liquor store and see if they have Writer's Tears. Danny Buffalo Trace. Got it. Yep. And knowing Dan, he's probably drank his already because it's 3 days old.
I want to know if anybody else tried the butterbeer recipe that I promoted the last time we were here, because me and the boy we killed that, and I do not recommend using it to play drinking games while watching Harry Potter movies, because that just does not end well. We didn't make it halfway through that movie.
Blue Smoke Fire, welcome.
Good evening. Love the chicken.
So we have a little bit of an abbreviated schedule here. So if anybody has questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will make stuff up, or maybe answer them seriously. You never know; it's possible.
What are we doing new for next year, Mike? Let's talk about that while we got some time. Yeah, Mike and I have rehearsed this, as you can tell by.
I've got a few people that look like they'll be
turn around on the answer.
What's that, Bo?
Said I've got a few people it looks like that should be joining us here shortly.
Alrighty. Cool. Good. That means Ro and I don't have to talk.
Let's make some shit up. Because that's what we do, right? I mean, that's really our entire job description.
So I will let everyone know for future creation next year. John, hit the gym. Come on. That's just lies we tell ourselves after Christmas.
John, absolutely. Got to be doing something. I did manage to keep off 10 or 15 pounds this year that I got rid of last year, and I want to do some more. So right there with you, but probably not lifting weights. That ain't happening.
So
Palmer, hello.
I will tell people for my creature creation, I am going to basically open it up to somebody who can find 3 other people who they want to do it together. And that way you can come up with the 3 people or the 4 people for the show, and I will just accommodate you and host. Hey, Ro, you could join a girly gym and take dancing lessons.
Oh no, no. That was the one requirement I had when I got married, is that I do not dance.
Why not? What's wrong with dancing?
Oh yeah, Bose tears up the rug. Huh?
I don't dance. There are two types of people in this world: those who dance and those who do not. I do not.
You're missing out, my friend.
Am I though? Am I really? And more to the point, nobody else is missing out either. I am saving you. It's the same reason I don't sing, because I have the self-awareness of a Gen X to understand what I do poorly, and I will not inflict it upon other people.
You can have two left feet and still have fun.
Hey, Zach, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys?
Oh, so we're getting important people now. This we incorporate Bo more often.
Thank you, Melissa. I don't know if you're talking about me or not, but I'm going to take it like you are.
So, Zach, have you put? I know your trilogy's out. What's the latest that you have put out for us to read and consume?
The trilogy and some short stories. That's all I've got currently.
I was afraid of that. I was like, surely there's something else, and I've just missed it.
No, I got stuff I'm working on slowly, but life has gotten in the way, sadly.
Damn life. Yeah.
Yep.
It does. That's why so many writers don't have them. Lives, that is. Yeah. Just makes everything so much easier.
But here's something everyone should visualize.
Oh, it's good to be blind.
Yes.
Some things the world
Future horror story, maybe?
What's that, Bo?
I said future horror story, maybe?
Yeah, there you go. Talk grimdark, I got something for you.
That's a cover I'll pay to see. It's an instant shelf buy. Never probably read it, but I'll put it on the shelf and display it.
Well, I tell you what, we have 3 days left. So in addition to Mike's head tattoo, if we can get to 500 by 3 days, I will do an episode in a tutu.
Hey, we'll hold you to that.
I'm counting on you all to make sure that does not happen.
So, Zach, I figure it's a silly question, but you will be at Worldcon next year, yes?
Yes, in Seattle.
It's in your backyard, so
we're so excited. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Where are you calling from, Zach?
I'm from Seattle area.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, so we're pretty.
So we're all
stoked to have
crashing
everybody
in Zach's
nearby.
place. Is that it? They're like putting out sleeping bags in the living room.
We are conveniently like 30 minutes away, so it's not convenient for anybody to stay with us.
And
tell that to the Uber driver.
And I will be Palmer's trusty assistant at the free lounge at Worldcon. So,
oh, fun!
Yes, that way I don't have to walk around and meet people. I can just sort of sit there. And
honestly, sometimes that's the best. You're like, just come to me. I don't want to go to you.
Mike figures that a little bit further, though. Come to me and then go away quickly.
Yes.
That's what Mike is banking on there. So what did we tell people that we were going to be talking about this time?
We are going to look at sci-fi and fantasy in 2024 and predict what's going to be hot in 2025 because, we're all going to write to market or not.
We're all going to write to market. We'd all be writing romance.
Romantic.
Or lit RPG.
Or that. Yeah, I guess that's probably be better.
So,
here's Millie.
Hello, Millie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, I'm on.
Awesome. So we really have no structure to this show, so you can take it any which way you want.
And because you're new here, it's not just tonight; it's every night.
Right. I like that.
Let's start with an easy one. Name a couple books that you've read this year that more people need to read. That should be a safe one.
And if you say Mike's book, we're kicking you off.
Yeah, we know you
I have two that come to mind. That's where I think my favorite books that I read this year. The first one is Starling House, which I'm sure you've heard about. It's fantasy / Gothic fiction by Alex Harrow. Very popular book that I really think its popularity is deserved. So yeah, I still think more people should read it because I really loved it. Another one is it's actually more horror with supernatural band, like a lot of horror books. It's Polyphemus. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, because I think it's from like the Greek, character. And it's by Zach. Let me get his last name right. It was one of my favorite book of the year. I just want to make sure I'm not butchering the last name. So I'm looking, yeah, Zachary Ashford. So that's another book I really recommend. It's not for everyone. It's horror and it's, a lot of warnings when you read that book, but I really liked it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Zach, how about you? What have you read this year that's needs more attention?
I haven't read a lot this year. I think I've read like 15 books or something, which is lower for me normally. And 7 of them were Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I will not recommend for this question because I think a lot of people are aware of that and already reading it. So
Yep.
another one I read, I'm just like looking at my Goodreads right now. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read the first ACOTAR book. Out of pure curiosity, was not for me.
I have not read it, and I don't think I will, because I think I will come to the same conclusion that it's not for me. But you tried.
Yep. I also read the second Game of Thrones book, or a Song of Ice and Fire. Also not my favorite. It was fine. It was very slow. My wife's obsessed with the series, so I will probably still continue on. But I think for the purpose of the question, I really enjoyed The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. It's a high fantasy whodunit, but it's definitely like it feels more epic in scope, which is kind of fun. A weird, unique world. I thought the whole thing was done quite well, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think there's quite a few people who have read it and enjoyed it, but need more people. It was good. I like that one.
And Nikki Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We have no structure whatsoever, so I just put on the spot. So I'm asking a book or 2 or 3 this year that you read that you think more people should read.
Ooh, I need to go get my Goodreads out, but off the top of my head, I know that like everyone's really obsessed with Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yes.
So that's what it's always on the top of my recommendations. If someone wants something fun, not too serious, and if you like cats, is definitely my recommendation.
Nice. So, and Zach, while we have you here, you had how many people this year? Did you all fund with getting audiobooks? I know you do that every year.
Oh, so this was the first year doing audiobooks specifically, and so we had less winners than normal.
Right.
There were 4. So we
Nice.
funded 4 authors, a total of, I think it was $12,000 worth of grants amongst the 4.
And can you tell us the 4?
Yeah. The first was Patrick Samphire. So he wrote Shadow of a Dead God, which ironically is a high fantasy whodunit, as I just mentioned another high fantasy whodunit. I've read the first and second book of Shadow of a Dead God and thoroughly enjoyed both of them. Snarky protagonist. He's a second-rate mage who's not good at his job, but kind of stumbles through and saves the city. The second one was J.C. Rycroft, The Bloodborne Dragon. That's the name of the book. I have not read this whole one. When we do the grants, we request a 10-page sample of the book that they're submitting, and really enjoyed those 10 pages. And JC seems like she's doing a really great job, and so we wanted to support her. Third one was Isla's Reach by Francisca Liliana. Same as that deal. Actually, Shadow of Dead God is the only of the 4 that I've read personally, but really enjoyed what Francisca did with the 10 pages that we read. Her cover is also just like stunning. I love it. It's beautiful. I think it will make a great audiobook thumbnail, which frankly is helpful when you're trying to market books. And then the last one was We Break Immortals by Thomas Howard Riley. Ironically, I have a friend from the Fantasy Files podcast who has been begging Thomas Howard Riley to make an audiobook forever. But the book is over 1,000 pages, which means, for those who don't know, you have to pay per finished hour of audio to the narrator. So to have an audiobook made for that, he's going to need a lot of money. And so we hopefully were able to help him out there. He actually got the biggest grant of all the people because his book was so large. But yeah, it's dark epic fantasy, very large scope, large cast, and we really liked what we read for the first 10 pages as well.
Nice.
Should be the book that breaks bookshelves, as thick as that book is.
Exactly, yeah.
1,000 pages. I think you should have read 100 of that.
Feels like it, right? A percentage instead.
All right. Wow, that's you barely make it through the prologue in 10.
So, Zach, are you doing this again next year? I guess I should ask first.
Am I joining you next year? What do you mean?
Are you doing
Next week?
Are you going to do the grants again next year?
Oh, the Indie Fantasy Fund. That's the plan. Yeah, we're planning on doing it again.
When do you open it up for submissions and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, we usually open it up for, I want to say, the month of March. Maybe it's February, March, just for 1 month, and then we spend the next couple months going through all the submissions, and in May is when we do the announcement.
Nice. And
how many people you have working on that?
Me and my wife, Bookborn.
That's just a pair of you go through all of that stuff and do that.
Yep.
Wow, awesome. Good for you, man.
It
That's
takes a couple months.
fantastic.
Usually there's a fair amount of procrastination that happens, and then there's a week of us forcing each other to go through them.
Absolute panic and low rate alcoholism. Yeah, I get it.
Yep.
Okay, so Bo, why are you here tonight?
Because you asked me.
You're the show.
I mean, organization is not your guys' skill set, apparently.
Oh, I mean, this is a rare sighting.
You noticed. Oh, hey. We have been doing this for like a year and a half somehow. It hasn't escaped us entirely.
I mean, they say practice makes perfect, or in this case, just more practice is needed.
Yeah, well, 10,000 steps and all that kind of thing, or hours.
So,
or
Bo, what's
whatever
the
it is.
secret? Because I feel like you're always very organized.
ADHD, my friend. ADHD. That is both a curse and a superpower when it comes to stuff like this. It makes multitasking very easy for me. But it also means I have squirrel moments on a regular basis.
I am the worst multitasker in the world. If I'm doing anything, I can't hear or remember anything else that's happening around me.
I live by a calendar. Everything's in my calendar so that I know what's going on, when and where. If I'm going to have something going on, it gets added instantly.
Oh, that's great.
Mike and I barely know what day it is. So, yeah.
Well,
that's
to be
fair.
fair, you're in the middle of the Christmas New Year. That the week doesn't exist. It's just in its own little time zone.
It's true.
So, I know that a while ago, Grimdark was what everyone wanted to read, and then it kind of cozy had their moment. What do you see coming up in the future? Is it going to be cozy? Is it going to be romantasy? What do you think is going to be catching people's attention in the next year or so? Any ideas from anyone?
I'm just going
I
to
think
get stabbed in the dark
romantasy
and say I
can go
think
bigger. I think it's already so big. I doubt that it's going to continue forever. I feel like horror romance is picking up. So still with romance, but instead of fantasy, I feel like horror is becoming. I don't know. We'll see.
I was about to say the same thing, actually. I saw a really interesting thread about horror and romance, and I was like, that could be quite fun.
Yeah.
You know what? Just to be a contrarian, I'm going to say it's not. I'm kind of thinking more comical, because if you look at like in 2020, right, during the height of the pandemic and everything, the genre that really suffered the most was dystopian, because you're already living dystopian, so why read about it? And I think horror is going to go the same way the next few years. Read into that what you want to.
Maybe. I'd love to see more humorous books. I feel like there are not many. One of my favorite books is humorous fantasy. The part about the dragon was mostly true. If you've not read it, it's amazing.
For me, I feel like I would not be surprised to see more crossovers happening in genres. Right, that seems to be something that's happening a lot more now. I mean, romantasy is a big one, right? Obviously, but you take fantasy and you mash it up with another genre. Even like these, like my recommendation, right, was the Tainted Cup, which is high fantasy meets a whodunit.
Yep.
So I expect that'll probably continue happening. Maybe we'll see more high fantasy thrown into things like horror and thriller, and I don't know, maybe there's like SEAL Team 6, but it's high fantasy or something, right? You take what people love and like the world building and just mash it up with some other proven successful genre.
Yeah, I think fantasy lends itself to a lot of that, especially when you start getting into like cozy mystery and thing like that.
Yeah.
Because fantasy has all of that there, right? I mean, you can have that little town, village, whatever. And because it's a fantasy, you don't have cell phones or computers or any of that nonsense to worry about. It can be a real detective story.
Mm.
And it's an easy way to suck people into our genre.
Yeah.
Oh, you like
But
whodunits?
you're
Oh, you
right.
should read this.
You're right. I think blends of genres are going to become more common. I've noticed a lot of literary agents are looking for that. For those who take science fiction and fantasy, many of them are asking for genre mashup. So we'll see.
I'm just going to guess you're going to see a lot more fantasy, or not fantasy, a lot more cozy fantasy and a lot more lit RPG, just because they've been runaway hits in the indie sphere, but now Trad Pub's taken notice and signed some big titles over, and they're starting to take over there. So it just kind of opened up a floodgate for other authors to not only get a chance at it, but also for just Trad Pub to try and make breakout stars of a genre that's been untapped for them in terms of going into a big box store like Barnes and Nobles or anything like that and having it on the shelves. Whereas all the other genres have been staples of there for a long time. And, like look at Dungeon Carl success. I mean, people swarmed Matt at Dragon Con. Like everybody was there. And not only that, like at Dragon Con, after going there for a couple of years now, there's a bar that everyone meets at that they basically consider like the author's lounge. It's just that's where the book readers know that people are going to be at. And there's a huge lit RPG gathering there almost every night, taking over a good chunk of that bar. But they've all been indie up until this point. And now that Matt's broke, through the ceiling and crossed over, there's a lot of other very talented authors with a lot of great stories out there that I'm sure Trad Pub's going to take notice and start trying to sign them now and bring them over. And that's just going to further expand that aspect of it.
I think too that the days of 1,000-page epics is going to be, you're going to see a lot less of that, right? As people, the younger generation, if they read at all, read shorter. I think you'll start seeing people write shorter, right? There just won't be as much description of how the grass is blowing and how very, very green it is. People will kind of get to the point a little bit quicker.
Maybe for traditional readers, I'd say audiobook readers, they want those big books. They want the stuff there. So, I mean, everyone says big books are dying, but then, I talked to my buddy, R.R. Verdi, and his book's flying off the shelves, and that's 800 or 900 page book. I mean, there's a lot of authors that are still putting big books out there that sell well. It's just knowing where to market it, I guess, and knowing what demographic to go after. He might not move as many physical copies as audiobooks, but people get more value for an audiobook if it's long. I mean, I wouldn't want to spend a credit on a 300 page book. It wouldn't be worth it. It's too short.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's a lot of incentives for authors to have longer books. When you think Kindle Unlimited, right? Like you get paid per page read. The shorter your book is, the less money you make. And that's from somebody who writes shorter epic fantasy. My books are all under 400 pages. So I know very well if I had written books that were twice as long, I would have made twice as much money.
But Zach, I feel some authors will just publish more books. You know what I mean? They might make them shorter, but they'll publish more of them so they can make a series. I've seen that. I don't know how much you're doing, if it's worth, writing more short books than a long one. But I wonder if that's their way of, making up for the loss of not having a very long book, just like making it into a series. So it's shorter, chunks of more sizable like book. We're talking about readers who might look for shorter reads. And I love novellas. I write and read a lot of them. I also like to read longer books, but I'm very happy when I hear the trend of maybe novellas or shorter novels are becoming more popular, because that's a length I really like personally. But then I'm wondering financially if maybe a lot of authors are gonna start breaking up in their long stories into maybe more books. I don't know. I've seen that, and I wondered if it was a financial strategy or not.
It's never very good, right? It's a lot easier to get somebody to read the book if it's one book and not split into 3, because there's always drop off in between, and it's a lot easier to create the bigger payoff with a bigger book. So generally longer books have higher ratings on like Goodreads and Amazon.
I wonder why they do that then. I don't know. Maybe there is another rationale for that strategy that they do.
I would say that, I mean, look at Ryan Cahill, who wrote the, monster book, and then he wrote a novella. I mean, bookstores are not really a thing anymore, so you don't have to fit on a shelf. So do you have to follow the rules at this point? You can write an 800-page book and follow it with a 55-page novella. And, I mean, he's written just about every size book now, I think. I know Katie Andrews, she just published the first book. It's going to be a series of novellas where it's cowboys with 6 shooters on dragons. So, it's a mashup and it's kind of comedic. So I think the walls are beating down, and I don't know. It depends on what works, I guess, what people will flock to. But I think we're kind of in a state of flux because traditional is going to do whatever it is they do. Try to get winners and follow the leader. But I think that is aggressive typing.
That's me. Sorry, I was changing my settings, so I did not change them the right way. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to fix the echo issue.
Ro, you're muted.
That's how many people like me, actually.
Well, I think other than
that was just like super aggressive typing.
I think the other trend that we'll probably see going into next year is for books that there are series, more of them being standalone books instead of the book having to carry over one after another. That way, especially in the indie space, I think if a lot of authors, I've seen people complaining about, sales aren't where they want them to be or whatever the case may be, it's easier to drop and walk away and start a different project if the last book finished where it needed to finish. And so I think, kind of like Jim Butcher style, where each book can pay off and add to a greater story overall, but at the same notion, leave the person satisfied when reading that first book or whatever book number it is in the series. If they choose to stop, they're not necessarily feeling like they're missing out on the greater story as a whole, because all of it ties together, but all of it kind of also concludes with each book. And I have a feeling from what I've seen in authors chatting amongst each other, that could start to be more of a trend, just because it gives them an out if it doesn't work, but it also gives readers satisfaction of whenever it does stop, it's finished. So they're not in a George R.R. or Rothfuss moment where they're frustrated because they want to see how it ends, but yet it gets just left out there forever.
I think you're absolutely right, Bo. I think another thing to add on to that is, and Mike and I have seen it doing Comic-Cons and everything, is if you write in a series, if someone isn't interested in your series, they're gone, right? Or if you can have several different entry points, different books that might attract them, they're more likely to buy something. But it can't all be in the same world or the same series, because some people don't want to invest in a 6-book series or whatever it is. They just, they'll buy one of yours to try it out, right? And then if they like you, they'll come back and buy the series after that. So there's a lot of reasons I think that could be true.
Yeah, but if readers, that's a great personal gripe of mine, is when readers won't back an entire series, because if you want things to get finished, you need to buy the author's books regardless, so that they have the incentive to finish it. If you're always like, I can't stand when I hear people say, well, I'll look at it once the series is done. Well, if everyone had that attitude, the series would never get done, because nobody would be buying the books to incentivize the authors to actually go do that. And so I think, like you're saying, like with the standalone, that gives them that ease of doing that, because like you said, they can jump in wherever. Hopefully it works for them. If not, they can bail out, but hopefully it leaves enough room for others to jump in and find it and then want to read everything in it.
Go ahead, Mike. You look like you want to say something.
I'm waiting for you to take over the interview. I'm normally just there for comic relief.
This isn't interview time. This is just discussion time, man.
We can take it over just by saying Jar Jar Binks and watch Earl get mad.
No, I won't. It's almost a new year.
So you're finally going to admit he's awesome then? It's a new year, new start?
He's awful. He shouldn't exist, but whatever. He was a necessary evil.
I will say to Bo's point about having more stopping and starting points, what I'm going to actually try next year is I've talked to several indie authors and I got the first book in their series and I'm going to have it on my table and I'm going to pitch my books. But if they don't read, epic fantasy, then I'm going to have horror, I'm going to have romantasy and, stuff that I'm never, ever going to write. Be like, well, you like horror? Well, then let me tell you about, Molly McCobb's book. Let me tell you in that way, I have more books on my table to try to draw people in. And I told everyone, your book is going to have to sell itself. The cover, little blurb on top, the book topper, because I'm not selling it, but I'm going to try to sell mine. But I want to have more there, more variety. And so we're going to see if that works or not.
Having done that, I write fantasy, sci-fi, horror, and a mix of. And so I have someone that goes, I don't read fantasy, but I read sci-fi. I'm like, here you go, this is great. And so it definitely works in your favor if you've got multiple genres on your table at a convention.
So hopefully that works. And I'm one of the authors. I told him, it's like, hey, can I buy 5 of your books and see if I can sell them? He's like, well, why don't we trade? I'll do it with yours. And I hope it works and that you can then find more people in the business and trade books and sell each other's books if you can't sell yours. Hoping that works. I don't know. We'll see. But, it's a new year. Try something new and see if it works or not. So talk to me next year and I'll tell you what happened.
I'm also trying something new next year for conventions.
Ooh.
I ordered 500 copies of what I'm calling a convention edition, which is a fancy version. It's got foil and all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm only going to sell it at conventions.
Nice.
Incentivize people to come find me. It's got really pretty art. And
so you're trying to take up an entire shelf in my house. That's what I'm hearing.
You took a swing on 500 of those?
I did. Yep.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Like a limited edition only for people who see you in person.
Yeah. That'll be kind
of
cool.
There better be copies at Worldcon. That's all I got to say.
Oh, they're definitely. I'm going to Emerald City Comic Con in February or March or whenever it is. But I'm definitely not going to sell 500 copies. So.
Well, you might now that you told everyone.
And actually, you know what, Bo? I'll just give you one because for those who don't know, this beautiful set that we have up here of the Greenbone Saga was gifted from Bo. So he is a wonderful human being. And I owe him. So there you go. I'll save one for you.
Fair enough.
It's yours.
So only 400 to go.
499 to go. That's right.
Fair trade.
So while Zach has kicked us off here, let's go around the room and find out what everybody else has got planned for 2025. Millie, what do you got going?
I'm going to need to take a little break from writing because I just have a lot on my plate. I'm about to finish a draft of a novella. And once I'm done drafting it, I have 2 books releasing in 2025, which is going to keep me busy. I have another novella, which is releasing in 2026 that I'm going to have to rewrite with my publisher. We've got a lot of big edits coming. I'm querying a novel. So if I find an agent for this one, I'm sure that's also going to include some editorial work. So I'm just thinking, next year I might have to stop writing new content and just focus on what I've already written. So do a lot of editing, book launch, but knowing myself, I know it's going to be hard to not write anything new. So I'm probably gonna maybe work on a project, but maybe something short, or maybe just do some outlining. So I think 2025 is really gonna be focused on my 2 release. The first one is my debut novella, so it's really exciting. And yeah, and just working on all the manuscripts I have already sold or drafted that needs some extra work. So it's the work for 2025.
But you got something coming out in February, right?
What did you say?
You have something coming out in February, right?
I do, yeah. My debut comes in February, and then I have another novella coming in Q2, late Q2. We haven't picked the date yet, so yeah, it's keeping me busy. At the beginning of the year, so in like a week or two, I'm gonna start going to bookstores to see if I can organize a few events, things like this. So I'm sure all that is gonna keep me really busy for 2025. So yeah, probably not a lot of writing, but probably a lot of editing, marketing, in-person events. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I can have a few in-person events locally, and maybe a local bookstore, an indie bookstore would be great. So yeah, that's my plan for next year.
Nice.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Nikki, how about you?
Ooh, I think 2025 is going to be a fairly big year for me. I just released 2 books at the end of this year now still. And so now it's bum on chair writing the draft of my 3rd book in my epic fantasy trilogy. So that's kind of going to be, in terms of writing, what's happening there will be drafting and editing that. But sort of behind the scenes, so I'm part of Speculative Fiction New Zealand, which is an organisation, like a not-for-profit that sort of represents creatives who write in speculative genre, and we just got funding for about 30,000 Kiwi dollars worth of funding to set up a new prize for speculative fiction in New Zealand. So I'll be part of the for that. So that will be a massive job. There's 4 of us at the moment organising it, and so you have to set up the website, or arrange for the trophies. So that's going to be, I think, also a big chunk of my time in 2025.
Great. Talking about that, I forgot to mention another big project I have in 2025, which is a bit similar to what you just described about a prize. Me and another writer, Ellen Holtz, launched the Small Spec Book Awards, which is an award for books published by independent and small publishers. So we did that because we noticed there was a lot of prizes for books published by big 5 publishers, and also a lot of prize for indie authors, self-published authors. But we thought, there doesn't seem to be anything really specialized for speculative fiction. So all the umbrella, right, of speculative fiction, so fantasy, sci-fi, horror, all of that, for books published by small presses. So the first edition is in 2025. We've already started collecting nominations from publishers, so I think it's also going to keep me busy. If you are an author published with a small press and you had a book in 2024, tell your publisher you might be eligible. We still take nominations, so I think that's also going to keep me busy. So Nikki, very excited to see also how your prize in New Zealand goes.
Yeah.
So excited. So exciting. Yeah, I think yours is probably much bigger than mine, but I'm still curious to see like what you do in New Zealand, because we're also learning for our own. So it's gonna be the first time for us. So
I'm
interested to see how those are doing.
New Zealand has no big trad publishers that do speculative fiction here. So most speculative fiction authors in New Zealand are self-published or small press published. So, and that was one of the main reasons for putting this award together, is because it is very difficult, because we're sort of the tiny arse end of the world is trying to market our books overseas, especially when you're competing against the overseas markets with trad publishing marketing behind them. So that was kind of the intention, is to highlight some of the homegrown talent here, and hopefully shine a light on it, which would be, fingers crossed it works.
Well, I don't know about you, Mike, but I feel just entirely unemployed now. Everybody doing all that. Good God. Bo, what are you doing?
Shock the world, Bo. Tell us you're going to write a book.
Never going to happen.
Feel even worse.
Yeah. No desire to be an author anytime in the near future. I don't know what we're gonna do. We'll see what the year brings. I mean, the site was set up as a 1-year test run to see if it generated enough traffic and enough justification to keep paying for it. So that renewal comes up here in a couple months, and I guess I'll make a decision then if it's something we're going to keep doing and where the team's at. Outside of that, the Discord doesn't cost anything. I mean, the little bit of cost I spent in terms of bots and things like that's long since been paid for, so that will stick around regardless. But we'll see. I would guess that I'll continue to read books and hopefully get back into reviewing in the next year. Like this year, I kind of fell out of reviewing quite a bit, just trying to get everything off the ground. And then also with family stuff that took place that took me away from it. But that's all kind of coming to a close now. So see if I can get back in the swing of things and get a little more active in the community. If not, I'll just continue to do what I do behind the scenes and let the rest of the team kind of handle the heavy lifting for now. And we'll see how it plays out.
Oh, how many books you read in a year, generally, on average?
Up until this year, usually somewhere between 45 to 60. Once I started reading, which, I guess for what you don't know, Ro, is that I've only been into reading in general since 2021. So like everything that you see behind me, that's all been bought in the last couple of years. Like I didn't own any physical books. I had a Kindle and I had a few books on there, but I didn't really read a ton there. I might have read 1 or 2 books a year at best up until a couple of years ago. So I kind of went from 0 to 100 real fast.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
So I have a question that's completely selfish. I know, shocking. So I have decided, and I don't know if there's any wisdom involved at all at this, but I am going to write a new series, and they're all going to be novellas, and there'll probably be about 12 of them. Is this insane, or is this a good idea?
Do it.
I love
Depends on the
novellas.
reader.
Are they all connected? Are they like really a series, meaning you need to read them in order, or can you pick any and read them as standalones?
Well, I know what the first 6 are going to be. Yeah, you're probably going to have to read them in order. So it's like
Okay.
epic fantasy. Well, it's going to be science fiction, but they're all going to be shorter version, like 25,000 words, 30,000 max. So, and I don't know if I've seen anybody else do a novella series. I guess Murderbot maybe.
That's like
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, and it works great.
But I'm not going to charge $6.99 a book like someone does. Anyway.
Yeah, but didn't that series get longer as it went on? I thought it was like the first 3 were novellas, and after that, they became full-fledged books.
Oh no, I refuse to pay 7.
5 and 7 are novels. I read them recently, all in a
Okay.
row, and yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 are novellas, and 5 and 7 are novels. So I don't know about 8 if it's going to be a novella or not, but it works great. And maybe for you, Mike, that's something to keep in mind. Even if you start doing a novella, you don't have to only do novellas. If there is one story you feel like maybe this one could be a bit longer, why not? But I love novellas, so I'm all for do it.
So, and Laura Huey is trying to convince me that I need to just write a bunch of them and then release a chapter at a time and serialize it. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this or when I'm going to release it, but it sounds like fun, so I want to do it, and maybe I'll even make money, but that hasn't worked yet, so we'll see.
You can make money doing this?
That's what I've
Really? Wow, there's a thought.
Well, but then you spend all your money on books. Just look at Bo. Exactly.
Bo's not writing them though.
Not yet.
No, I don't
Saves
make
a
any
little
money
bit.
off this hobby. It's just all chilling money out. To be fair, a lot of the books behind me, there's a good chunk of those that were sent to me by authors. I mean, there's a lot of authors I still owe reviews to. Some of them have been sent by friends. And then obviously I've bought more than my fair share of things, and even ones that were sent to me for review, I've bought and given away copies. If I like the book to others or in the Discord, done giveaways, things like that as a way to give back to the community. Because that's the one thing is once you start getting established in this, people will offer you as a reviewer endless amounts of books if you say yes to them. And I don't ever want to, I don't know how long I'll be part of the community in that regard. Like hobbies come and go, but I always want to know that I've given more than I've taken when it's all said and done. So that's where anytime I get something, if I like it, I find a way to give back to somebody else to pass it along so that somebody else can enjoy that story and start talking about it. Because every author needs champions that are going to champion their books. And there's only so much any one person or even a team like ours can do. I mean, it takes way more than just that to get it out there. So,
Bo, you're making it sound like you're going to leave, but you're not allowed to leave the community.
someday, not anytime soon, but someday. I joke with team all the time. I set it up in a way that nothing's tied to my personal account so that I can hand everything over. And at some point I can just ride off in the sunset. Somebody else can take over and keep the site and the Discord going. And I can have
when the Cosmere is finished, when Stormlight Archive is done. How about that?
That's a long time. I haven't even started the Cosmere yet. That's like a 2025 goal. We'll see if I get there.
Do you go to Comic-Cons and stuff, Bob?
I've been to Dragon Con twice now. And then I plan to go to Worldcon this year.
When you go to things like that and you see indie authors, what pulls you into them, or do you just go say hi to all of them because you're that kind of guy?
I'm a pretty social guy, so I'll say hi to anybody that I get a chance to interact with. Like I went to the first year because I had become friends with Sadir S. Samir after reading his book, and he was coming over from Sweden and said, "Hey, I'd like to meet up and hang out. If you're going to come, we could share a hotel room and help split the cost." And I thought, okay, sure. And then from that, I knew Zach was going and other people that I wanted to meet that I'd had lots of good interactions. And so I went down there, and from there, that spun into me going again this last year and making more connections with more authors that I knew and other readers and reviewers that were there. And I have some family not far from there that came up, so it's a good excuse to get to see them as well. And then now this year I'll go to Worldcon because I've got friends that can't make it to cons that live out in that area that are going to go to that con. So it'll be another place to see people. And once again, friends like Sadir that are coming over from Sweden or other parts of the country. Ryan Cahill and his tour that he makes, which is just blows my mind. As much traveling as he does, like I don't know if I can handle all that, but getting to see everybody is nice. It's just the in-person things. Everybody talks to everybody online, but it's different when you can hang out and have dinner with each other and turn off the promoting aspect of things and just act as friends and make connections where you get to actually know people for people instead of having to talk about their book or anything else. Like, it's the one thing I'd say is I've heard different things about different cons. I guess I'll see what Worldcon is like, but I know at Dragon Con, everyone treats everybody the same. It doesn't matter who you are or why you're there. If you're in that reader section of that particular hotel where everybody meets up at, everyone talks to everybody. Everybody will sit down at any table. Like, everyone's welcome. You see indie authors, trad pub authors, you see editors, you see publishers, you'll see, big names, small names, all of them are at tables together, treating each other like their peers. Nobody's there looking down on one another or anything like that. It's very friendly and very loving. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, for me, it's an expense to go do these things because I'm obviously not going to sell anything there. You're not going to go make money. It's just to hang out with people. But it's money well spent as far as I'm concerned, just getting to know more people in the community.
Bo, now that you have SFF insiders, I hope you're expensing your trips.
I don't do nearly enough to justify that yet. Maybe someday.
Do it.
Right now, it's just, hey, I'm going to go have a holiday for a couple days.
Yeah, I think you could probably expense it if SFF is like if you businessed it,
Yeah, if it gets to that point, maybe then I'll look at that. Right now, it's just hey, my wife wants me out of the house for a couple of days so she can have peace and quiet. So I guess I'm gonna fly across the country and go hang out with some friends.
There you go.
Just do like one author interview.
Yeah.
Put it up on the website. Expensed. You're good.
Oh, we've done a few of those already.
Do it over dinner, and you can count that too. All right. Well,
I have
cool.
to get back to my family, but it was really nice hanging out with you guys for a bit.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach.
Thanks for hopping on, Zach.
Take care, you guys. 2025. It's gonna be great.
Woo!
See y'all.
Cheers.
See ya.
Oh, now he's gone. We can talk about it. He's still hearing us, I assume. Yeah. So, what are we doing here, Mike? Are we gonna carry on for doing things like Fantasy Feud and all that kind of nonsense?
We are going to do Fantasy Feud, the final in 2025.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And yeah, we'll have other silliness planned. Yeah, if our scheduler would get on the ball, we'd have more interviews lined up for January, but he is woeful at his job, and they just won't fire him, no matter how much I beg Bro to do so.
Fire who?
Our scheduler.
Oh, no, we got to keep him because the scheduling is one of those jobs that nobody else wants to do it, so your job security is ensured. You got it. So Mike and I are going to be on a TikTok live on the 29th. What time is that? Like 7, 9
Wait, bro,
o'clock?
you're young enough to be on TikTok?
My daughter showed me how to work
Mean
it.
Girls I knew, and I'm not even on TikTok. So.
Bo, the Sebastian, who's going to have us on, had us on once before, and he said, "Yeah, the people that really like the 2 curmudgeonly old guys I had on. Can you come again?"
Yeah.
So we're Statler and Waldorf, basically.
We are, essentially, yeah.
Listen, there's a reason why Grumpy Old Men was such a popular fan or movie series. Like, there's just something about it.
The beauty of having no filter. So yeah, we're doing that on the 29th. So check out Sebastian Carlisle on TikTok. And the first person of the new year is Luke Tarzian.
Who was in the chat. He might still be here.
And that's at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. You are freaking killing me, Smalls.
Well, he's out on the West Coast. You guys are on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's got work. He's got to feed the kids. He's got to give him time.
Joshua Scott Edwards is with us on the 7th of January. And then Mike has to find something for us to do between the 7th and 27th because we've got nothing on the schedule right now.
Well, there's lots of promises. That's what has to happen this weekend is, follow through.
All right.
But let's see. What have we not talked about? In my defense, Ro is normally the one who runs the interview. I'm just here for my looks.
But that's because we're usually interviewing somebody about their book or whatever it is. And this is a much different kind of vibe thing. So, Did you all try my butterbeer recipe over the holidays? It's fantastic.
I did not, but that does sound good.
Vanilla vodka, butterscotch schnapps, and a 1-to-1 mix with cream soda and whipped cream to taste. Fantastic.
I had that tonight. I was drinking your cream soda.
See, all you need now is the alcohol to put in with it.
Then I might not have been very, friendly in chat then. I would have been slurring and getting vocal and angry. Not just joking. Totally not.
Perfect, right? That you fit right into that curmudgeonly old man kind of demographic that we're hitting.
We could do video clips and share it on the internet forever.
Yeah. That's just what I want. There's a reason why I did all my dumb stuff when I was younger, when there wasn't camera phones around.
Oh, wasn't that great? It was, man, such a good time to be alive when none of us would have jobs. Anyway, it's terribly late everywhere, and we've been doing this for about an hour. And Millie, Nikki, Bo, thank you very much for taking time to hang out with us tonight. Let us know when your next books are coming out. Millie, good luck for yours in February. And share with us the adventures of putting together some of these projects that you're doing with helping out other deserving indie authors, because that's fantastic.
Yes, very happy to support the indie community.
Yeah, that kind of thing right there, I think, is what the whole thing is all about. Is you see these, folks like yourself popping up and doing something to give back to the group as a whole. Because let's face it, traditional publishers probably aren't going to do it. So
yeah, well, that's why Zach's Indie Fantasy Fund is a great thing for people to support. I mean, he didn't mention it while he was here, but a lot of that is donation based. So they will open it up again in a few months, and the more donations they get, the more people they can help. So it's a great way for people to give back, whether they do it with their name publicly or whether they're anonymously. It's an easy thing to throw a little bit of money at, and it can go a long ways to helping people find more great stories that they didn't have a chance to before.
Mike, I think I found something that we can do in 2025.
And that is?
We could get some folks like this together. We can do a Bald&Balding telethon, and they can all talk about their stuff, and we can help them raise some money for their causes. What do you think?
Love it. Do it.
Yes.
Mike is thinking that I'm thinking like a 24-hour. No, I'm not.
We need a 12-hour live stream. You got to get Adrian Gibson down here so he can be tattooing Mike the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Every donation, Mike gets a new tat.
Yes.
I would.
By the end of it, Mike will have a full
live tattoo.
good to go.
Do that.
What's that, Nikki? Go again.
I thought you said something about a live tattoo, and I was like, I would hell donate to that.
Mike,
So-
Mike has been saying for like 4 months now. Mike, you get the image ready?
I do.
That if we could have gotten to 500 subscribers by the end of this year, he's going to get this tattoo on his head.
Oh, that's awesome.
He knows somebody who is a tattoo artist who will be at Worldcon. So I think even if we don't hit the 500, Mike will get this on his head at Worldcon. So
Yeah, wondering what my boss will say when I come back, but you know. But yeah, we did not get to 500 this year. Unlikely we will, unless there's 128 people who want to sign up between now and the end of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. August could very well happen there.
yeah, we
I
can,
don't
do
get the
that.
whole why you people want it live stream, but whatever.
Just to
Because
see.
they want to see your reaction.
Yep, we want to see you cry.
It might. That one might. I don't know what it's getting your scalp tatted if that would hurt. I've got them on my arms and I didn't feel anything, but the head might be a little more sensitive.
Yep.
Not mine. I'm not sensitive. I've been told that for years, decades even.
Famous last words. All right. To everybody who once again joined us in the chat and wasted an hour of your lives, thank you very much. We appreciate it. We know you have other things to do, and now you can go back to doing them as we wave awkwardly goodbye, and we will see you hopefully on TikTok on the 29th, but otherwise next year.